Welcome to Norton Rose Fulbright YouTube channel, Energy Transition, the Pace of Change. I am Anne Lapierre, the Global Head of Energy, and I am Paris-based. Today, I have the pleasure of hosting Robert Todd, Managing Director at CIBC Capital Markets. Robert, welcome.
Good morning, Anne. Thank you for the invitation today.
Well, Robert, before we dive into the subject, maybe could you introduce yourself and your business?
Yes. Hello, everybody. I recently joined CIBC in London, and previously I was with HSBC for 14 years. I spent the first 10 of those in Asia and 4 years in London. And throughout that time, I have been focused around the clean energy space across the value chain. And here we have fresh ambition to really grow our activities across credit, across advisory, across capital markets for our clients as part of the energy transition.
Right, and what does energy transition mean for you and your institution?
Well, I think in the early days, it was really probably more about renewables, smaller projects, perhaps high subsidy, but of course all of that has changed today. I was looking back 10 years ago and the amount of solar that had been installed in just 1 year was 5 gigawatts, which at the time was a very big number. But flash forward 10 years, this year we're expecting over 150 gigawatts, so tremendous growth. However, that is only part of the story. I was reading the Bill Gates book over the weekend and reinforced to me that electricity is just part of the problem. I think he quoted 27%. So really, we have a 73% problem that we still need to deal with, and we're at a very early stage. It was also reinforced to me by a client recently who is developing a significant project, over 15,000 megawatts of renewable energy to produce green fuels. And as part of that, he tried to put into context the amount of product that they would bring to the market, which would only represent something like between 1% and 2% of the LNG market globally. So that means even though this project could be one of the largest projects in the world for renewables, you still need 50 more of those projects in order to satisfy demand. So the task in front of us is monumental.
For sure. And some of the market players are currently talking about a renewable energy bubble. Do you think that's the case? And if yes, what has caused it? And how do you see it playing out?
Well, during 2020, sustainability was elevated and became front and center of many conversations, mainly due to the pandemic. And I think a tangible evidence of this was in the public markets, where we saw listed companies where there was a sustainability angle grow in share price dramatically. Some of our clients had share price growth of over 100% in just 1 year, which is quite remarkable. And when we looked at the drivers for this, we found some interesting statistics, including one ETF where they had experienced assets under management growth of over 16 times in just 1 year, which had really supported the share price growth. Interestingly, though, in the start of this year, a number of those share prices have also steeply reduced. So perhaps there isn't the support at those higher valuation levels at this point in time to support those prices. Now, in the private market, we've also seen a lot of activity, and particularly new faces coming into the industry for the first time. So across the board, where there are technologies and projects which attract capital, I think that will continue into the remainder of this year.
Right. Talking about technologies, obviously we've got 50 US, we've got hydrogen, you've got storage, you've got smart grids, offshore floating. What in the short term, I mean in the coming 12 to 18 months, which one do you think will attract most investments? What is your view on that?
Well, there's been a lot of talk around hydrogen. It's a very popular topic today. And I think the conversation has shifted, though, from originally what is the hydrogen rainbow, the different colors that we see, whether that's gray, blue, green, to a broader conversation around where is the value in hydrogen? Which part of the value chain should I focus on? Having said that, a number of clients still very much see hydrogen as a topic for 2030 onwards in terms of the energy transition. So I think that is probably in the medium term to make the largest impression. Interestingly, CCS has been a topic that we've been spending time on recently. We had our first CCS conference just a week ago, and we had a strong reception from clients. And I think a couple of statistics really resonated with me, which is today we capture around 50 million tons per annum of carbon dioxide. However, if we want to make the transition to net zero, the calculation moves to over 5,000 million tons per annum. And I also learned some new phrases like blue oil, which I hadn't come across in the past. On the mainstream renewables, offshore wind will continue to be an area of significant growth. We've seen governments increase their targets worldwide, very successful tenders recently in the US and round 4 in the UK. We'll see new tenders coming in markets like Taiwan, Korea, Japan, and of course Poland we've seen as well recently with their new policy. I think there's also a realization though that if we're going to meet those longer term targets, that we need to also bring floating technologies rather than the bottom fixed technologies which have dominated today. Lastly, I think we will see significant amounts of continued investment into the storage space. Most recently, we've been spending time on long duration storage for applications which require 6, 8, 10 hours of support to the grid. And I think that's a very interesting area to look at for 2021 as well.
Right, and I guess obviously all of that will develop with some governmental support. Do you feel that there are a large number of countries which got the appetite to take that kind of risk? And if yes, which countries in your view are the most attractive and why?
Well, I think in the limelight today is the US after the results of the presidential election and the Senate runoff. And so we're starting to see structural changes around many of the stakeholders to support the growth of clean energy in the United States. So I'm very optimistic around the growth prospects there for the coming years. And most recently, you also saw the extension of the tax credit scheme as well, which is important from a financing perspective in the US market. In Europe, we mentioned some of the markets in Western Europe, particularly around offshore wind technology and broader policies to really encourage the energy transition. In the UK, there is a live consultation with BEIS at the present time, seeking industry views around decarbonisation of industrial clusters, which will come through shortly. And in Asia Pacific, we've seen most recently China announce some fresh ambitions, which are significant around renewables once again. So we'll be continuing to be the largest renewable energy country in the world.
Right, and my final question will be, if you had to pick up 3 things that are fundamental to ensuring the success of the energy transition, what would they be?
Well, firstly, I think we need to have a mindset shift from looking at assets independently to really thinking more broadly in terms of system and system transition. Particularly, this is important when you think about technologies like hydrogen, which require a number of different elements to integrate together in order to produce a successful outcome. Historically, when we thought about areas like renewables, we really just focused on individual projects, but I think this will clearly be insufficient as part of the broader transition. Secondly, we need to mainstream the topic with the population around what this means for us as individuals. And I think there's still a lot of confusion around in terms of what is sustainability, what is green, what does the transition mean for me in my daily life? And that needs to be a focus area as well to translate that into those daily experiences. And the third one really is a combination between the technology progress together with government support and frameworks to help act as a catalyst to bring those to commercial scale and realization. And if we can do that, that will help accelerate our pathway. And I think the next 12 to 24 months are very important to really set us in a positive direction on that front.
Thank you very, very much, Robert, for your highly valuable insight.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you for the invitation today.
Well, thank you. And thank you for all listening. Don't miss the next one.